difference here, we're going to try something different than just to, like I mentioned it before we all broke. And that is, we're going to have a little panel discussion here, but after a couple questions, we're going to throw it back to you to ask questions relating to what was just asked of the panel. Then we'll go on to the next question. So think about the questions that they may bring up, and we're going to open it up to the group versus waiting to the end. Because then you kind of think, what did they say? So we're going to try to figure all that out, okay? Kim's already done that, but I'd like to introduce to you what we have here are Monica Pierce. Am I saying your last name right, Monica?
Yeah.
To me, I'm from South Chicago, and we pronounce everything wrong. A 10th Ward Distilling, who was responsible for, it's already gone, the margaritas.
Yeah. Thank you for consuming it.
You're going to share that with everybody?
No.
Okay. Well, you just heard her talk about sharing and giving. No, well, you're out there. What I would like to do with Jane and Monica, just give them a minute to tell them about their business. Because what you have up here is a person that deals with personal family. He's got a very interesting business of finance, but not just finance, but also working with people on how to manage their money.
Correct.
Yeah, I do.
Good job.
Good time. Yeah. And then we have a lady distiller here.
Yes, my last name is Helm.
Oh, Jane Helm. Yes.
Thank you, Arminta, for clarifying.
Okay. So we also have. We are getting to you, Jane. Then
Arminta needed to know.
Okay. And then Monica from 10th Ward Distillers. Well, again, what I would like you all to do is, again, tell us a minute about your company, kind of where it was, where it is, and where it's kind of going. Okay, we'll start with you, Monica.
Yeah, hi, I'm Monica Pierce. So 10th Ward started in July of 2016. So this July we will have been open for 3 years. We specialize in whiskey and other types of fun, unconventional spirits. We source everything locally from within about 30 miles of the distillery, our raw materials, and then we distill them here in Frederick. We've gone through a lot of really fun changes and some stressful changes. I bought out my business partner last year, who was also our head distiller. So I went through a phase where we not only had to go through a buyout, but replace the head distiller, but also we were going through an expansion at the same time, moving into a new location. So we've had this really cool growth spurt, and we've relocated into a new spot on Patrick Street, where I guess it's our second location. We still have our production facility, but it's an event venue. It's our barrel storage facility, and they also just passed the law in Maryland that will allow distilleries to serve cocktails and mixed drinks. So we're super pumped about that. Yeah, we can finally compete with our brewery and winery counterparts and start to have on-site consumption. So that will change in July, and that'll be awesome for us. Kind of our story.
I also bank with Frederick County Bank, who's here, but if you go online, there is a video.
They're an amazing bank to bank with if you're considering, there are a bunch of them in the back there, hi guys. If you're considering looking into either business loans or banking with somebody locally, personally or business-wise, they've just been a huge supporter of 10th Ward, but they also get to know me on a personal level. They market our business. They have an entire marketing department and fund dedicated to promoting the people that they bank with, and that's been awesome. So it's kind of weird. I'm gonna see myself on a bus soon, apparently. We've done a YouTube video, or a whole video commercial, a bunch of photographs, a Frederick magazine ad, the list goes on, and I can't be more grateful to them. So
yeah, but I went on and checked my zero balance in my business account, and there you were, and great story.
That was my FCB spiel. Sorry, I know we're supposed to be talking about other stuff, but they're cool. Yeah.
And Jane.
I'm Jane Helm. I'm the founder of Money Mentor Group and a certified financial coach. I've been in business, it'll be 4 years in October, and it's hard for me to even believe that it's gone by so quickly. people hire me to help them accelerate their success with their everyday money. So I help business owners, I help individuals and couples, and I focus on budgeting, credit and debt, saving more, but a lot on the behavioral side. So I will look at your numbers and help you with that, but I tend to be the emotional and behavior part of money.
Yeah, that's what I found very interesting when I met. It wasn't just how to manage the money, if I get this correct, and that is that, hey, we all have a personality, and how our personality
Our approach to money.
approaches money, yeah. Yeah, so I need help with that.
See me after.
Yeah, okay. I'll give you, right, you got it. I get a deal?
Yeah.
Okay, good. My first question for the group, for all three of them, we're going to just go down the line, and then we're going to throw it back to the group, is, Jane, how do you define success in your business?
I define success in my business by my client's success. So if I have clients that have gone through coaching with me and can maintain reaching those goals, maintain their budget, maintain the decision-making that they had struggled with before, I always check in a couple months later just to see how they're doing. And when they say, we are still doing great, that is my success.
And that it takes sometimes 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
Depends, yeah. It can take months, yep.
That's great.
Because when we're changing behavior, we don't change it overnight.
That's good. Okay, and how about you, Monica? Success in the distillery business.
I see it on both like a quantitative level and a qualitative level. You can see that your business is doing well when your revenue is going up, obviously. So when you see sales that are constantly increasing, obviously that is the best way, but it's kind of also fun, and I think it feels a lot more gratifying to see those qualitative successes, like when you run into a person that you don't personally know and they're wearing your brand on their t-shirt. And that, I remember the first time we saw that, and we took a bunch of pictures of somebody we saw across the creek, like wearing one of our tank tops. Or when you see it in a cocktail on a menu somewhere downtown, people that I've never met before talking about our product. Those are the types of things that I consider to be successful, because that means that the brand is out there and working, and what I've been doing is working.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you really defined with you, but how do you define success?
So for us, I would say 2 parts, because we work with business to business with our branding and design and working with our advertisers, and then we work B2C with our readership with SAS Magazine. On the branding and design side, similar to Jane, we love watching our clients succeed. Some of the businesses have been with us from the start, and we get to work with them like over the years and just watch their businesses grow and be a small part of that. And that's super gratifying. And then on the readership side for SAS Magazine, I love hearing people say, oh my God, I see SAS everywhere. Thank you to my mom and dad. But also we've heard stories about women who read about another woman who they can identify with or they can relate to, or sharing a story that's similar, a hardship or something that they've gone through with their life. And what's successful to us is just hearing women say, thank you, for writing that story. That really resonated with me. That can't be. There's nothing better than that.
Just getting that positive feedback.
Just getting that positive feedback and knowing that we've helped someone or that they've been able to relate to a story article. Or a lot of times we have women who meet at some of our events and then they end up doing business together, or they end up becoming really great friends together, and just facilitating those relationships.
Yep, that is the whole networking, but also the inspiration, right? So I'll throw it open to the group. Any questions on success for these little ladies up here?
So how do you feel like being in Frederick specifically has contributed to all your business's success?
I've got a good answer to that.
Go ahead. I can answer it too.
You all can answer.
For me, it helps having done business in the town I grew up in. which I can't say more to. I grew up with an accountant now and an attorney and et cetera, and my family is here, and I don't feel like I would be comfortable having taken this risk if it had been somewhere else where I didn't have my people. And people want to support the local business of the person that came from this area too, so that's been huge, but love it.
For me, I'm new to Frederick. I've only been here 30 years, so I'm a newcomer. And for those of you who have been in Frederick your whole life, you know that's true. I'm new.
Yeah.
But I had, before I started my business, I had established relationships here. So a core group of women from several women's groups that I belong to, and knowing that I had their support and having good business contacts here before I started my business from working in the corporate world.
Any other questions on success? Yeah, Sage?
How often do you guys update your goals, and like, do you have like KPIs within your organization as well, and how do you monitor those, and how do you plan for those successes?
Yes. No.
Sorry, it's a big one. Part you want.
So things like KPIs or dashboards or
What's a KPI?
exactly right.
Yeah, talk their language.
So I didn't go to business school. I didn't know all of these terms, so I've had to kind of learn those along the way. Key performance indicator, which I actually just looked up earlier this week. But for me, I'm setting my goals, but always changing them for how it needs to be changed. So depending on whether that's a monetary goal or a goal for growth or something like that, I think that being a successful business owner is always knowing how to set those goals and then work within them and make changes as needed. Is that kind of, you guys might?
Yeah, and it depends on how confident you are in your staff and your past numbers to set those, because in the first couple of years it's hard to see what you can build off of. But we now do annual strategic planning retreats and quarterly check-ins with our staff. And the goals that we list, from sales numbers to Facebook followers to other workshops that we host, et cetera, things that my targets that my staff have to hit, their bonuses and salaries are associated with those numbers. So if they hit up to so much % of that target, that's going to be the % of their bonus that they get at the end of the year and the % of the raise that they get. And obviously, you always need to adjust. I don't want to set anything too high that's unachievable, so we have those check-ins to make sure it's still a realistic number.
Did you come up with that, or did someone kind of help you figure those kind of things?
Yeah, we didn't really start setting them until after year 2, I would say. And so that way I could look at what worked for us last year and then set that target. But I sat there in the room with all of my employees and we looked at every single number, and each one of them said, my salesperson said, okay, I feel like I can realistically do this number of cocktail tastings a year and bottle sales and new liquor store accounts and etc. So I wanted their feedback and their input too, so they set those goals themselves so they know what they need to accomplish.
And I'll just address this. I don't really have key performance indicators per se. I'm a very small company. There's me and my associate. But we do numbers forecasting. We go back and look at the past 4 years of revenue and what we see going forward and make our strategic planning from there.
So you all kind of do strategic planning. Mm-hmm. And how does that, when you do the strategic plan, is it done or has it become part of the everyday operation? Sometimes people do them and they put it away and say, I've done a strategic plan. And that's where it stays in the drawer. My sense is that you three don't do that.
We don't do that at all. We develop our action steps around that strategic plan, and we revisit the action steps that we both agree to take, and then we do an evaluation of those action steps quarterly.
Great. The next question for the three of you. We all have strengths right? One other thing is that I learned in my own career in doing seminar work and stuff like that, I don't have any weaknesses. But I got a hell of a lot of improvement opportunity. And so I'm going to ask you all a question. What is your greatest strength in your business? Let's start with you, Monica.
Oh, with me? Okay.
Yeah, I'm just throwing curveballs.
Yeah. For me, and this is something that I always had a natural strength to, was just the ability to execute things and get them done. And like prioritizing and figuring out what are these top things that I need to do. So when you have 100 emails in your inbox, which are the ones that I can answer in 2 minutes, which are the ones I need to set aside for a couple of hours, and same with tasks in your to-do list. And for me, it's also making sure I have time for my employees so that they aren't being held up with what they need to get done.
Yeah, I noticed that when Rick and I came in and talked to you, you had your book and went down that line. Yeah, very organized, very organized.
Thanks.
How about you, Jim?
So one of the things that I think is very valuable is that I'm very familiar with my strengths from Gallup Strengths Finders. And my number one strength is relator. So that means I should be spending my time talking to people, and that is what I'm best at. So I can relate to many different types of people. So that is what I try to focus my time on, because I'm comfortable doing it and I love doing it. So that is my number one strength.
My number one strength is definitely big picture, creative big picture thinking and strategizing. That's one of my favorite things to do, is really think about what can we do with this? Like where can we take something, and then figuring out the steps that we'll have to go through to get to that place. I'm not good at doing all of those steps, but I'm good at planning and strategizing all of those steps. And just as a side note, I agree with Jane, the Gallup Strength Finder, for those of you who are familiar, or if you aren't familiar, it's a really great tool to use to find out what your strengths are and to how to use them in your business. And also for your staff. We actually have all of our staff do a Strengths Finder test before we hire them to make sure that they're fitting into kind of our core group.
Yeah, that's important that there's alignment. One more part of the question, then we'll throw it up. I didn't mention improvement opportunities. Do you have any improvement opportunities, Jane? If
Certainly.
If you do have one, what is it?
Improvement in my business?
In general, if you had an improvement, it's not a weakness now. Remember, we
Right.
don't have weaknesses.
So improvement, an area of improvement, I always feel that we as business owners need to be sharpening the saw. So I am constantly learning about my profession. I am constantly creating new tools for my clients. So I think that it's a constant, I can always learn more about my career and what I do.
So you do you just don't sit back, you're always moving forward.
Always moving forward. Sometimes it's client directed. A client might ask me a question and I can answer it, but I know a handout will make that much more meaningful if they can look at a diagram or look at the words, or everybody learns differently. So I create a lot of my content based on what my clients' needs are.
Okay, great. Monica, an improvement? You don't have any improvement.
No, I've got plenty. I think I have a very aggressive approach to our business growth, and I am a workaholic. I will do 7 days a week, 14-hour days sometimes, and sometimes my friends and family don't want to hear about it anymore. But I think because of that drive, sometimes my employees also want to strive to not necessarily impress me, but to work just as hard. And so there are nights where I'll get an email from one of them on a Friday night at 10 o'clock, and I'll be like, oh man, I really don't want him working that late. But he's working really hard and he's getting shit done, so I'm not going to tell him not to. But I think getting them to have a work-life balance, even though that I don't, is something that I could do better with in terms of running the business, because otherwise we're all going to crash and burn.
So do you do it with a smile on your face?
Yes.
That's great.
Yes.
How about you?
So I would say one of my things that I could improve upon, and I'm a work in progress for this, and I'm constantly working on it, is just delegating more. I'm also a workaholic and like to do things my way, which isn't, I stand by, that's a good trait, but I'm always working to really delegate and not have to not micromanage, I don't feel like I do that, but to really put full trust and full autonomy in my staff. So it's a work in progress.
Questions from the group? You don't want to challenge your strengths, you want to challenge your improvement opportunities? Okay, yes, here we go, yes.
I had one for Monica.
Yeah.
Finally, nice to meet you, by the way. I've had the FCB rum. It's really good.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Delicious rum.
Yes, so good. I imagine that being involved in the liquor industry is male-dominated. Am I correct?
Yes.
And as that, that reflects other industries as well. Just from your account, as a woman-owned business in a male-dominated industry, what is a nugget of wisdom based on your experience in that field that you'd like to pass down to someone?
Yeah, so, and people ask me about this all the time. So you always associate whiskey with like the Ron Swanson man who's sitting there by the campfire drinking out of a rocks glass, when there are actually a lot of really awesome women that are becoming pioneers in our industry. And what's cool about the industry is that it's also progressive. So the men that I work with that are colleagues of mine, I don't have any challenges with. It's typically everybody else. And so the one thing that I would say that spins it in a positive way is that it's a huge selling point. Whenever I have somebody that's like, I don't know if I want that, if I need another bottle of whiskey on my shelf, you can just say, yeah, but you're supporting a woman-owned business. And then that's the sell. And they love it.
Using it.
But what I've also learned is not to take any of those challenges to heart either. Most of the people that bring you down for being a woman in this industry are the customers that don't actually know what they're talking about, and they end up making themselves look really stupid for trying to mansplain to you, or sorry, no offense to any of the men in the room, or whatever else they might be doing, and I'll get people, men and women, that'll say, oh, so your dad owns the business, or, well, I went to Scotland and I know much more about whiskey than you do, because I went one time and had this scotch that you've never heard of, and they really, you just have to walk away and laugh and, just nod your head and know that they, like I said, end up looking kind of dumb.
That's on the law passing.
That's where that ignore the shit out of that comes from.
So I think in general, in my experience, women are more empathetic than men. And I think that an important part, maybe the most important part of business is making relationships with people. And so I'm wondering if you all think you have an unfair advantage over male entrepreneurs. And then I would say maybe in more general, maybe do you think you maybe have any more other sort of natural advantages or contrasts you might see between male entrepreneurs and yourselves? Anything like that?
I definitely think, and this is one of the reasons why we work with a lot of women entrepreneurs and women businesses, is we do approach business in a different way. It's not a better way or worse way, it's just a different way. And it is a lot more based on relationship building, focusing on more intrinsic type values in our business. I don't think that it's necessarily how did you put it? An advantage, an unfair advantage, because I also think that a lot of times we tend to be more listeners rather than coming right out and saying something. So sometimes that can be looked at as sitting back a little bit, and it's just a way of building relationships or watching or kind of listening first before jumping in. That's what I've found.
I would agree. I think women typically have been nurturers, right? So we nurture relationships that are important to us, and I think, pay a lot of attention to those. And I think that is an advantage sometimes in owning a business, because I've nurtured quite a few relationships that are very important to me in my business, and I'm not sure how men do that. I'm sure they do, but I consider myself a nurturer.
Well, there are some men out there that are.
I'm sure.
Nurturers, yeah.
Yes.
That's why I said in general.
Right.
That's true, though. Yeah, Seth. Sage. I know Sage. I was looking at that on you. Yeah, Sage.
So, I got another one. So, you're dealing with a whole group of entrepreneurs here, men and women, some of us disabled vets that use certain things.
Another great
Right, another one. All right.
ploy.
What's like a single piece of advice that each one of you would want to share with someone else and say, hey, there's just not just like hustle. Everyone gets that, like just hustle. But what is something that you would really want to say, like this is what's helped me over the years, and here's one of my go-tos, and here's one piece of advice that I think could help any of us that we might be facing.
Can I just back one second? You
Advice,
said the
single
word
piece-
hustle.
I said hustle.
Yeah.
I said, well,
Beyond hustle.
yeah, beyond hustle,
Oh,
beyond
okay.
just, get out there and, please.
I've got two easy ones. The one is, and I just said this, none of your friends want to hear any more about how hard you work. They're sick of it. Like, they get it. Your significant other, whoever. So find somebody that you can bitch to, whether it be a therapist, not a close friend or family member, because they're over it. They want to have another conversation with you that doesn't have to do with your business. And then the second one is save a ton of money in consultants by buying friends and experts drinks or lunch or whatever. Post it on Facebook. Who do I know that is an attorney in copyright issues, if that's what you're dealing with at the time? Because so many of those people are so much more than willing to offer you free advice to help a small business or a veteran business or a woman-owned business or whatever than they would want to charge you thousands of dollars of money that they would to a larger client. So that is a big, huge save for me.
For me, it's something Kim touched on earlier, and that is staying in your zone of excellence. So I tended, when I first started my business, to be more of the control freak about everything, and I have learned to stay in my zone of excellence. That's where I belong, where my strengths are, and I delegate everything else out.
And mine goes to what I said before, is basically find your tribe. So find those people who really do support you, and who you can bitch to your business about. I was laughing because my husband is here and he does not want to hear me talk about my business anymore, and I get that. So I bitch to my friend Whitney, who we meet once a month and have a creative business owners.
Bitch with you.
Yeah. You're all invited.
I have a budget for it now, apparently.
But I think that finding your tribe and finding those people who can support you, but also finding other entrepreneurs who can understand what you're going through and who can help you through that or offer advice, or who you can help through is a really great way to build your business and build your network.
Yeah.
Where'd you find these people, these like-minded people?
I found them through. I found my people just through networking. I did. I actually picked her up at a bar. So Whitney has been friends with me for 11 years in my business. I met her when I first started my business at Flying Dog at a networking event, and we just hit it.
Recommend these kind of events?
I do, and I feel like you'll be drawn to people, the right people. You just have to find your tribe.
I'm going to have two more questions, then we're going to break, and then we'll have, yes.
I have a money question.
Yes.
But it's not just for you, Jane. It's
Okay.
for three of you as business owners.
You can tell I jumped right on it, though. I was excited.
Money lady.
Like, phew.
I wanted to hear.
I actually want to hear your answer last.
Oh, okay. Shoot. Okay,
I'm
good.
going to grade you on it. But because I want to hear about, as women business owners, and as any business owner, we all come to our business with our own money story, right? You feeling me? Okay. So we all come to the exercise of creating a business, creating revenue, building your business with your own relationship, your own personal relationship with money, and it's built off of your past relationships with money, how you've
I can hardly sit still.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I would just, you don't have to get too personal in this, but I would love to hear your biggest challenges as women business owners with money.
You want me to go first?
You go first.
Money is always a challenge, for me, being a woman or not, because when you start a small business with everything that you had in your back pocket, that's always something that's going to be in the back of your mind. And I think that for those that didn't start with either like a large investment or a financial backer or something like that, that's always going to keep you up at night. And that's something that I've had to accept. I think that it's not a bad thing. It's just something that you're always going to have to deal with and stress about, and having a bad month is going to suck. And then you just do a bunch of financial backflips to make it work and figure it out, and hope that, everything still is going through.
Yeah, same. So I don't know about you guys, I assume, but I started both my businesses without any financial backing, just my own savings. So that made me really value what I had and made me learn how to run a really lean business. And so even after 11 years, like the business that we run is a very lean business. We, try to stay within our scope of finances and have to adjust and make decisions based on that where we are.
You ready?
Yes. So I think what I heard was your question was about the money story, right? And how you grew up with money and how it affects you as a business owner. Am I correct? So I work a lot on the money story with my clients. And so I've done a lot of my own work on my own money story. And I grew up with the theme of scarcity in my childhood and in my young adult years. And I rebelled against that scarcity and got myself in big trouble with money because I discovered credit cards, and I wasn't living in scarcity for a while, and then recreated it because I got into debt. So I am very, very careful with my own business numbers, understanding that if our mindset is around any fear-based emotion, that's a danger zone. So having the faith in your business, knowing what numbers to look at as benchmarks. I also say that entrepreneurs, we have our business numbers and our personal numbers, and it gets kind of jumbled up in here. And getting clarity on both sides of your life with your numbers is where the true power is.
Good. I got one last question for the group, and then we'll break, okay? Because I asked this of all the startup grind, how do you balance your business with your personal life? How do you find that balance where you kind of go home smiling at times? How do you balance it? I'll let one of you start and then go from there.
I would say that balance doesn't really exist. It's not going to ever be like 50% work, 50% business, but it's more of integrating those two. So sometimes you are going to have to work 7 days a week, 14-hour days, but then knowing that you can't do that forever. You can't do that forever. And knowing that you also need to have that downtime, but you have to, there's no balance. You just have to integrate. You have to kind of figure out when you need it. I personally went through last year a phase where I got completely burnt out in my business, and it affected me emotionally, physically, mentally, and I don't ever want to go back there again. So I'm now really working on my own self-care, knowing that that is equally as important to running a business as knowing your numbers and having a good staff and having a good product, if not more so.
Excellent.
I schedule time for fun in my schedule. So it isn't a balance at all, because just as these women have said, I'll work 10 hours a day, 7 days a week sometimes, but I do, if somebody wants to do something or I want to do something, I will make time and put it in my schedule so I don't have the good intentions that never lead to the action step of doing that. I think at the first year of my business, I was nose to the grindstone. Friends would call me and say, do you want to do something? I'm like, I'm working. I can't do it, right? And it can lead to burnout. It can lead to all kinds of things. So now I schedule it in my schedule.
And your schedule has time for finding.
I make time. Mm-hmm.
Great. And last one?
Reminding myself that the business isn't going to implode if I don't answer that last email before closing the laptop. If whatever stressful thing that happened that day happened, there's nothing you can do about it. It already happened. Just leave it and forget about it and just go whatever you got to do. Go to dinner, do your laundry, go on with your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't let it bother you.
Wonderful. Well, I said one last question, but 2 words of advice to this austere group before we break.
The same thing that I've been saying. Find your tribe, find your people, find those people who support you. You can't do it all on your own.
Yeah, and to extend on what I said with like the tribe or the experts that have that expertise that you don't have, use that to save on the lessons learned, and so that you're not making those financial mistakes, and find out who is doing the same thing that you are and get their advice, even if they might be competitors, because it's totally worth it in the long run.
Celebrate your successes, because so oftentimes we're very hard on ourselves as business owners, and we concentrate on those things that we didn't go the way we wanted or didn't go well. And take time to really give yourself, I say an atta girl, but an atta boy, if that's appropriate.
Add a person.
Add a person, yeah. But take time to celebrate what you have done well and what has gone well. I think that's important.
Well, some wonderful advice from 3 entrepreneurial successes here, and continued successes to these fine ladies. So let's give them a hand.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you all for coming.